Decades after serving and protecting our nation, a group of war veterans is headed to the nation's capital as part of an honor flight.
The travelers gave them a spirited send-off this morning at the San Antonio airport. Alicia Barrera was there and has more on the story.
The beat of the pipes and drums demanded the attention of early morning travelers. Some clapped, others shed a tear as the men in red were wheeled past them. John Briegel, a Navy Vietnam veteran, is part of the 20 military men being honored this weekend in a way he says is much more patriotic than when he returned to the U.S. in 1975.
But we didn't wear our uniforms. No one wanted to see them. We were a bad reminder. Now, we're being honored.
In 1970, Richard Rios returned to San Antonio wearing his Army uniform. And decades later, he still remembers who welcomed him home.
My mom, dad, and my sisters.
Of the 20 veterans, 2 served during World War II, 6 fought in the Korean War, and 12 served during the Vietnam War. And once in Washington, D.C. later today, they'll visit the memorials that honor their sacrifice and of those that weren't able to come back home.
Looking forward to visiting all of the memorials, Korea, World War II, Vietnam, and identifying some of the people that I served with. Their names are on the wall.
Been there many times, and I'm going to enjoy this trip.
Since its establishment 5 years ago, the nonprofit Honor Flight San Antonio has boarded a total of 12 flights with more than 300 veterans. And their plan is to continue giving back to military veterans.
Our next trip will be in May. Hopefully we'll be able to take a little more, and hopefully the airlines will have more availability on flights.
And as the fiery sun rose this morning, the war heroes were sent off with a water cannon salute. Alicia Barrera, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Katrina. Happening now at San Antonio International Airport, a very special flight is getting ready to take off and head to our nation's capital. In just a few hours, some of our nation's bravest will board an honor flight. Our Alicia Barrera is there live. Good morning, Alicia.
Good morning. Yes, well, in just about an hour or so, 20 war veterans are going to be honored and headed towards Washington, D.C. We have 20 heroes from World War II, the Korean and Vietnam War, and they will board this flight and head to Washington, and some for the first time. Of the 20, we know 2 are World War II veterans, 6 Korean War veterans, and 12 Vietnam veterans. And their families have made it out here this morning. Some will be actually escorting them on this flight to give them proper send-off for this 2-day trip. It's planned that they'll be back tomorrow evening. And once they land in Washington later this morning, the plan is for them to see the national memorials dedicated to their service, sacrifice, and patriotism. And these brave...
Yeah, that's me and my veteran. Stick around and I'll tell you all about it.
Military heroes are able to embark in this trip through the nonprofit volunteer organization. It's Honor Flight in San Antonio, and you know, they're very excited this morning. I spoke to actually one Navy Vietnam War veteran, John Briegel, and he says that obviously this time around it's much different. When he came back home, it was Florida back in his day, and he said that, you know, they couldn't wear their uniforms. And now he's here, they're all wearing their red polo shirts, they have their hats on, embroidered with whatever war they served in, and he says he now wears it with pride. And today was much different. You know, we were walking all throughout Terminal A, and they were received with applause. Some people actually even crying. So it was a very emotional morning. Again, they take off later this morning, and we'll have a live look ahead. Leslie Mark, back to you.
I would just like to point out, I hate mornings, and I may or may not be running late.
Well, if you're not 15 minutes early, then you're late, right? But what if you're actually late? I'm sure they won't notice. But I just got to the airport. I'm going to the terminal. I had to set up for my veteran to arrive, and that's the exciting part.
Turns out I was on time and there was a large waiting party for our veterans. The San Antonio Police Department spared a few officers to escort our veterans to our departing gate. Upon arriving to our terminal, there was food and drinks available for our veterans, and my veteran took it upon himself to get up and walk around and greet those who came out to see us off, and that already showed me the type of personality he was going to have.
That is too cool.
Once we got to the Baltimore airport, we regrouped and were escorted by Honor Flight volunteers. They guided us through the airport and to our bus. Once we got to the bus, we loaded it up, got everybody situated, and they handed out Firehouse subs. We ate that on our way to our first memorial, and we were granted a police escort for our time in DC.
Fascinating because the outside of the building and all the foliage and the water, the vegetation around it depicts all the different things around the country where we have Native Americans. So they'll have running water, flat water, corn, rice. Isn't that a pretty view of the Capitol? That's the Grant Memorial. There's a horse in the middle with the cannons on each end. So the Senate is on the left, the House is on the right. Now, we have...
Our first stop was the Navy Memorial. We looked around for a bit, took a couple pictures, and bought a couple souvenirs. After that, we were off to the Arlington Cemetery. When we got to the Arlington Cemetery for the changing of the guard, it was asked that we put our phones away, so I didn't get any footage there. Our next stop was the Marines Memorial, and my veteran liked this one because he served very closely with the Marines. After visiting this memorial, we headed over to the Air Force Memorial, and I personally like that one the best. Fun fact, the Air Force Memorial had the best view out of all of them. So today was super duper productive. We just got back to the hotel like 30 minutes ago. I showered, I got all cleaned up. All the actual adults are at the bar right now. My roommate is at the bar, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, we had a little dinner hosted by like JROTC here, and it was pretty neat. Wasn't super filling, but you know, that's fine. I might just order some food right now. But so far so good. Tomorrow we got a couple more memorials to head to, and then we head home. My vet's definitely loving it. He's super grateful for the opportunity. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, we got a full day in store. I think I'm actually gonna order some food, and then I'll go to bed and bright early wake up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Oh my gosh, I love mornings. Mornings are great. Anyways, see y'all later. I never really did order that food, but I did fall asleep almost immediately as soon as I put my head on the pillow. The next morning was not a 6 o'clock wake up, but a 5 o'clock one, so I was almost late again. After we ate, we were again greeted with our new police escorts who would be with us for the entire remainder of the day. Our first stop of the day was going to be the World War II monument. Now we had 2 World War II veterans with us. This is going to be a big thing here, and they wanted to get everybody in for a photo. After taking this photo, we grouped up as the Guardians, the ones in the blue shirts, and they told us that to keep an eye out for our veteran because these memorials might affect them differently. So with that in mind, after we took our group photo and we dispersed, that's when things got a little more interesting. My veteran served during the Vietnam conflict. Although he did not ever get to go to Vietnam with his unit, he was discharged beforehand. So when we went to the wall, he actually did find his name on there. Now, it wasn't his name verbatim. He found two different people, but his first name and his last name with those two people. And this kind of struck home for him that his name could have potentially been on that board. And although he didn't serve in the conflict directly, he was still ready and willing to serve had he not been discharged. While we grouped up, the veterans talked amongst themselves on how they were feeling after viewing a couple of the memorials. A lot of them had this somewhat melancholy feeling of seeing these things that were set up for them. None of them seemed happy to see the memorials, more like relieved. And I took this in for what it was. These were times of war that they survived, and that they came home to their families. And they acknowledged that not everybody came home. Another fun fact, this cop walked in front of me knowing I was recording. The Disabled Veterans Memorial had a very peaceful vibe to it. It was very tranquil and very relaxing. A lot of people like this memorial. After that, our tour had come to an end. It was time for us to go back home. Our veterans were excited to go home, but at the same time, kind of sad that we were leaving. This was the first time in a long time that any of them have ever been able to see the monument stood up for them. What they didn't know was that there was going to be a surprise for them when they got home. It wasn't just going to be get off the plane and leave. The city of San Antonio invited out people to come and greet the veterans, a greeting that a lot of them did not get when they first returned. And this was an honor for all of us there. This trip reminded me of something I don't think about a lot, and it's that freedom isn't free. Many lives were laid down for the opportunities that we have today. So I would like to say thank you to my veteran Russell Calwan, and I'd like to thank those who have served, who are serving, and those who plan to. Thank you.